Yeah, this
This
is like
kind of stuff.
thinking about the hyperbolic dual things and the whole Mandala narrative. It's like this sequence
Sorry.
of
Sorry.
every moment we make a map of the moment as it's now become, and we move that to the center of the new moment, which has got this new layer inside it. Then we do that again, take the new picture, ad infinitum, and that's how we usually it's one way of looking at how we construct time. But we look forward in time all the time. It's like unidirectional. It's our language. Each sentence has a subject that is doing something to an object, if anything, in the story. But it's like if we're that little threefold tile, then it's subject, predicate, object, and we're like stuck between the story we've told ourselves about where this is all coming from, the subject, this static icon of a concept, and then we're extrapolating from that story we're believing right now to the other side of the tile about the object. That's the thing in the future. Is like with work, for example, like the subject is the work you do, and the object is the money and the things that money can buy, like free time. And I'm just caught in between trying to, decide for myself what my tile set is gonna be.
Time eats us. Really.
Yes. I was thinking of this.
It's like what you wanna, there is this like what you wanna buy buys you, or what you wanna own owns you, kind of. Like people trying, let's say in best version, we are buying time, or we got time and then with that buying others time. So, like it's like forced to do so. Removed from your resources and knowledge to produce. Okay, we are social animals, we need each other, but it shouldn't be only for producing something. But let's say we did that time right now is what we exchange and buy. Actually, what we buy is time, but then with that time, what are you doing? Like at the end, you become recycled into the time. I don't know, because you become not existing. Yeah, like when we die, then we are not anymore using others' time, unless we are like left some artwork or taught to think about, for people to think about those. I mean, which is not consuming their times.
Yeah.
There is, of course, time, but it can be very much more relative. If that dimension, man, thinking, imagining, requiring time.
Are we just time and how we construct time? These little loops of space-time, matter, mind.
Yeah, that's why I created this calendar. That it was like 9 months of 40 days each, and at the end of the year, five days that I call it like the vacuum days, where like everything resets. And I was following it like for about 2 years, and it changed everything. Like expand. Like every month it was so long, and I have a lot of time to do things in that calendar. Like, and everybody was like running, and I was like super chill. Like, no, like I opening my own timeline in a way.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I think that's something I've noticed across media, that you found your sweet spot with the 30 days and the 7 months, and that worked for you. Like for me, it's I when I meditate, I do it in multiples of 35, just because I calculated that was about how many I would take in 5 minutes, and enough to give me a head change, so to speak, and then double it to be sure most of the time. And it's like that little chaotic zone, which is really what a fractal is, as I understand it. There's the iterations in the equation that veer off into this total stagnation, and then the ones that just disintegrate.
You know, I'm talking about time is when you like I did that in order to put myself in a different you know, like in a different world, like to be able to, well, 40 days is the days that, for example, when you ask for something to your double, it responds in a period of 40 days. I'm talking about the Jean-Pierre Mallet Garnier theory of the doubling theory.
Yeah, that's related to the Taurus, right?
Yeah, probably,
okay.
Yeah. So I started to counting in 40 days because of that. So I started something at the beginning of the month and received like the response after that month, and it was really interesting also how the reality started to change, you know, like little changes here and there, you know, like, oh man, this is not the same. And also the people change, like this is the same person but it's not the same. You know, like their attitude changed, and you know, like I really don't know what happens, but some weird things started to happen with when I was doing it. And I think it has I don't know, maybe the capability to broke into another dimension, you know, and it, you know, it took me here. So, you know, yeah. I'm talking to you. Why? You know, some changes that I made in that period of time, you know, like trigger another possibilities, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
you know,
crazy.
I don't know. It was probably in the beginning of the year. I don't know. I was in my creative frenzy, right? And then like I had this like mind's eye vision of like the birth of like language, and it was like these like little like kind of like energy like orbs that were like popping, you know, like just like, and then like one like was like had a form, and then it was like holding like that or whatever. And then like I just was like remembering like that, like this like weird like little internal like vision I had of like this like thought experiment that I was doing, you know what I mean? But anyways,
yeah, cool,
yeah, you know, like just like visualizing within my own inner mind, right? And but like we're talking about like earlier, you know, this kind of like tension and pressure, and this kind of goes back to what John was mentioning about why I even mentioned like present shock, like why it's like important, or why it was important to me is like, you know, I think in the beginning Doug kind of like phrases like, you know, because the advent of like smartphones and the algorithm and being pinged, like everybody is like an airport control person, and we're like getting pings with all this kind of stuff, and then we have like, we think we're in the present, right? But we're like thinking about like this feed or this one, then it's all in our head, right? All of these like stresses is just boom, boom, boom. But we're not like in the present, like felt experience within ourselves. You know what I mean? That's like different, like, and that's what I kind of mean between like the dream is not real, it's the dreaming, the felt experience of like being totally engrossed into like this moment, and then when you're in that moment, like time like ceases, like, you know, it's that moment of like, oh my god, like, you know, I thought it was only 10 minutes and it's like 3 hours passed or whatever.
I know.
And there's like reverse moments of that as well, where, you know, you feel like whatever, but like time like ceases. But when you're like in that those moments, that's like I guess like in a sense you're like projecting out, like for me, like my language is like the possibilities of those like different little like potential moments of like, okay, that could be this or that or that, because, you know, like, well, that's what I mean by like these knots in those narrative mandalas. Those are like moments later that you reflect on, like, oh, like when I read that book, that's like kind of like helped like change my mind and my thinking of that, or when I listened to that lecture, that like changed my thinking on that, or when I experienced this music that like did this or that, or, you know, like all this kind of like stuff. Like even to like this day, I can't really, like, Pink Floyd is probably like my favorite band of all time, but I can't listen to it because like those songs are all loaded with like me, like, you know, taking mushrooms with my friends at like 20 and like, you know, being in San Francisco. So like when I like listen to the songs, you know, like totally sober, like it like brings me back into that felt experience of like where I was and all that kind of stuff. So like if I don't have like the like psychic space for that, like I don't do it, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know, I don't want to, but you know what I mean, I guess. Being able to have those spaces to like being able to you know, play to be
like it took me like, well, I remember your conversation with Roscoff when and he told you, like, you know what it's the most difficult thing for the majority of the people is to be present, actually. You know, like we are always running or thinking about the past, but we are not here, or like and, you know, when I was study about the fourth way, you know, about the Gurdjieff and Ouspensky and all of that, you know, like it's all about that. It's all about how can you learn to be present, and how can you develop that presence, you know, like to be and in my personal experience, what happens is that you go back to like I related to the time when I was a kid. You know, like when you wake up, you are a kid and you wake up like, I don't know, like 7 years old, and you wake up and you have the whole possibilities in life. You know, you're expecting whatever can happen, you know, like whatever crazy shit can happen, and it happens. You know, you go outside and play with friends, and magical things happen. You know, like it is like
what changes now.
Well,
I mean, now we grow up. Like,
not for me. I didn't change that much. You know, like I have a period of time when I was like down. You know, like trying to recover that, and that. But after that, you know, I learned that, you know, like when you learn how to be fully present and you forgot about time, you forgot about everything, you know, like you just be here, you know, whatever can happen. Like a spider was in my sock, like just here right now, but you know, crazy. But yeah, it has to do with that, you know, when people are able to feel more present, it opens a gate. Can say that, you know, like a gate to maximum amount of possibility.
Each
Like
other.
when you are, but it is, you know, it is about to be here, but just and just disappear also, you know. like to be here
Yeah.
and disappear at the same time, like
You
just
know, like
yeah.
back
be
in-
part of the flow, you know, like
back in
Yeah.
more extreme version of being in my 20s, you know, like I was reading a lot of Jack Kerouac, and you know, he had this book called Sum of Dharma, and I really liked it. And then I was like, you know, I was taking a lot of mushrooms, and I was like, you know what, yeah, okay, I'm gonna like go old school fasting, and I'm gonna wait for like old school Buddha moment, right? And so there I'm like sitting under the tree, and the first day was like hard. It was like, oh, I'm all like distracted. And then the next day was like more fatigue, but then I was getting more in the zone. And then like the third day, I kind of like let go. And so like the thing was like I had like a classic like near body experience where like I like viewed myself third person, then I viewed like my yard, and I viewed like my neighborhood, then I viewed like, you know, like the state, then I viewed like the world, and then I was going up and then going to the light. And then I like get kind of like stopped by like this presence, and then like it just like had the sense that it was like familiar, and like later I kind of like project that's like my uncle or whatever, but whatever. And then I kind of come back, but like the experience of me coming back was like, oh my god, like if I die, then I will like never see my grandma again, I'll never see my mom, and like all these attachments like got my like consciousness back into like my body, and then boom, I come back to my body, and then like I feel all this like tingling, and I'm like, oh shit, I better go eat something. And then like, but like that lesson of like those things that like tie you down, that keep you kind of like tethered, these knots, and they're good and bad. You know, there's things that tangle you up, but there's also things that able you to like go further out in but still be like tethered to this like saddle point within like the cyclone, because like, you know, like there's other you know, more other like Dark Night of the Soul stuff where I needed to be like tethered, and those were like, you know, those deep connections of like, of love and like childhood and stuff like that like really brings you through those moments.
And you know, it's like Ouspensky described it in The Search of the Miraculous, like when he realized, oh man, I was present, you know, like for the first time in my life, like everything looks different, you know. He was walking down like in St. Petersburg, and he noticed that everything changed, you know, like everything was more colorful, and you know, and he realized that, you know, what is going on here is like there is a reality into this reality that I'm not aware of, you know. And I have experienced that myself, and it's more easy is when you go to nature, you know. I go into the forest and wait there, and you just don't have to do anything, you just wait there, and suddenly everything comes back to life again, and all the insects and birds and animals, and you know, everything starts to its natural flow again, and you just there like contemplating that thing. And it's all about the music, it's all about dancing, it's all about the colors, it's all about fucking, it's all about,
you're back in like the rhythm of life, like that little
and the time. And the time, what happens with the time there, you know, it's like there's a different time there, you know, it's happening, it's not the same, of course, for them.
Magic time.
It's about magic.
I like the word prismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. It is a little bit it's like, you know, it reminds me like the old Walt Disney movies, you know, with the animals and everything. You know, I have some videos. You know, I was in the river, sitting on a stone and getting to trance with the white noise of the river, right? So I smoke a little bit and just sit there, you know, and everything starts to like, you know, the crickets and the birds, and there was two fireflies. Fireflies is how you call it, libélulas. We call it libélulas. Yeah, and there were. I have a video of it. You know, they were dancing like this, flying like these at the rhythm of the river and the birds and everything. Like, fuck, what's going on here? You know, like it was magical actually. And I was like, no, there's another reality that we are not aware of, you know, that it's going on, and it's everywhere.
Always.
Yeah, it's everywhere, but we lose contact with that, and we get absorbed for that, you know, that other time that is accelerated, you know, everything, you know, like faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Can I share something with you guys? I think this will probably be my last long story tonight. Might hang around for a moment after. But
to go sleep.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
You stay out of my head. You guys all know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I've loved them since I was a kid. I think this is related to a dream where they made an appearance. I've been thinking about them as archetypes of, I guess you could say, 4 virtues of whatever I'm calling all this shit. The post-linear word sense makey stuff. Anyway, and the 4 agreements also, if you've heard of that book, then some of that relates too. But I thought of this because we were talking about being present, and this whole like mental turtles mandala, which I haven't made yet, but I can read it in my head. It's like Leonardo kind of epitomizes being present for me. He's the one that would be do your best of the 4 agreements, but his function is he closes the loop between function and form. So you make an effort to try to work out how hard you need to be trying and just be present at whatever need for closure is called for. And then he's kind of offset by Michelangelo, which is don't take things personally of the 4 agreements. And his mantra is simply make space to play. That means like pre-staging your space in mind maps as I see it, just like we have lines on writing paper. But in a mind map, we can make choices all the way down. Like you can zoom in on individual words. It's crazy.
I want to interject a little side note. So Michelangelo is like my Ninja Turtle. When I was like 6th grade, my grandma made my Michelangelo Ninja Turtle costume, and I won. You know, like I was Michelangelo, so that's mine. Which is, you know, the trickster, the one that's like, okay, don't take it so seriously. So it fits for me.
Thanks. Well, like his big brother Raphael, and he's kind of my favorite because I never related to him that much, but his mantra is retrieve underlying questions. The 4 agreements, I think it was, it'll come to me. I always forget one, but retrieve underlying questions, because when you do the tag thing with uncertainty indexing, the written word, then you open up this whole space where it was just almost completely paved over before. What was it? Anyway, the last one, Donatello, designed for recombinants. That's just how I think my maps are for, but so you can do those retrievals. I think his was don't make assumptions, and Raphael was let your word be.